Thank you everyone for subscribing to Infinitely Productions. If you have not done so, please click the bell and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy our content.
He used these frequent visits to shield himself from prosecution. Investigators called it his act. Then in 1990, the man they dubbed the Odd Father found himself in court once again. But while other mobsters were being jailed on racketeering charges, the feds could not convict Gigante. Once again, his bizarre behavior kept him out of prison. In the mid-1980s, legislation known as the RICO Act allowed federal investigators to put away mob bosses. Men like Carmine Persico, head of the New York Colombo family, and Anthony Corallo, chief of the Lucchese family. In 1986, federal prosecutors convicted Fat Tony Salerno, the man they thought was the head of the Genovese family.
Fat Tony Salerno was a true blue gangster. He was not going to say, hey, I'm not the boss, you got the wrong guy.
The feds soon learned that the real godfather was Vincent Chin Gigante. But Gigante used his crazy act to avoid prosecution.
He would walk the streets of the village in a bathrobe. He would urinate in public. He would do things that no other boss in the history of La Cosa Nostra would catch himself doing ever in public.
Gigante seemed demented, but his organization was raking in millions. One of his most lucrative ventures was in construction.
The Genovese Crime Family and the Lucchese Crime Family started a company called Arista Windows.
In 1981, the New York Housing Authority decided to replace all the windows in their housing projects. Gigante wanted a piece of the action.
Approximately $170 million in contracts were awarded, and virtually all those contracts during that time period were the subject of bid rigging that were controlled by players with the support of these organized crime families.
When the FBI got wind of the deals, they were determined to bust the mob all the way to the top. To do it, they needed help from someone on the inside. The feds turned to another mobster, Peter Savino, who had been linked to several murders. Investigators offered to reduce his charges and put him in the witness protection program if he would become an informant.
Savino, whose nickname was Blackheart, was someone who Chin Gigante had protected from retribution when guys in the crime family had told Chin that he wasn't to be trusted.
Peter Savino put himself at risk for 18 months in the streets of New York, meeting with members and higher-ups of 4 crime families in New York.
Investigators were able to find other evidence that corroborated Savino. 2 mobsters, Robert DiBernardo and Angelo Ruggiero, actually mentioned Gigante's nickname in connection with mafia business. In May of 1990, Gigante was indicted for racketeering. Gigante's defense attorney, Barry Slotnick, claimed his client was mentally ill. The judge ordered a hearing to determine if Gigante was fit to stand trial.
The government suggested 2 psychiatrists to a judge. They examined him, not in a cursory examination. They examined him, they put him in a lockup, in a federal lockup, in a hospital setting, where he was observed for 24 hours a day.
Vincent Gigante would say things like, God told me not to, God told me it's cold outside, the dots of the Bender-Gestalt test make me nervous.
He successfully convinced court-appointed psychiatrists that he was crazy, They diagnosed him as a paranoid schizophrenic. They said he was psychotic. They said he was childlike. They said he was regressing.
The man is sick. We've been telling you this for 6 years. He's sick. He doesn't know what's going on.
As the hearing continued, the prosecution showed a different side of Vincent Gigante.
You look at the surveillance photos that the FBI has over the years. You see Chin Gigante wearing his ratty bathrobe. But he's smoking a cigarette in those photos, and it looks like he's chatting with associates on the street. In those surveillance photos, he doesn't look so crazy. But when you saw him in public being escorted into court, the crazy act was in full swing.
Prosecutors also pointed out that Gigante had been married for 40 years while he maintained relationships with his children and his mistress, Olympia Esposito.
A chronic schizophrenic would be someone who had very poor social skills, and the idea that Vincent Gigante was cultivating two families is incompatible with the way socially chronic schizophrenics are.
Gigante sounded normal enough when the FBI wiretapped his conversations with his mistress.
Oh, read it there. The barber? He probably didn't know you was in there.
I know he was in there. He's on my side. You want me to take anything home?
No.
All right.
Okay.
See you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
And ultimately what the court saw was that there were at least 3 lives of Vincent Gigante. There was the one that was described to a psychiatrist, where he was a person who was an invalid who lived alone with his mother. There was the Vincent Gigante who had another family they spent a lot of time with in the Upper East Side. And there was the Vincent Gigante who made regular meetings with higher-ups of the Genovese, Colombo, Gambino, and Lucchese crime families.
Gigante had avoided prosecution for 7 years. Finally, in August 1996, Brooklyn's federal district court judge declared Vincent Gigante lucid and fit to stand trial. When Gigante showed up for the first day in court, he proved that he wasn't ready to abandon his act.
His lips quivered, his eyes looked all over the place, his arms were shaking on occasion, his leg would twitch.
The FBI put mob turncoat Sammy the Bull Gravano on the witness stand. Gravano testified that Gigante discussed killing informants and sharing extortion profits without any signs of mental illness.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and check out more of our content. Feel free to give your feedback and suggestions on what we should do next in the comments. This is Infinite Lee Productions. We love ya.